Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Knowledge is Power Podcast Live. We're here today for a special a podcast. This is what we call a emergency podcast. Today episode is going to involve the incident, a violent incident that happened at one of the local high schools here in Beaumont, Texas, in the BISD school campus of Westbrook High School. And this incident that occurred happened this past Wednesday. And here at Knowledge is Power podcast, we like to have the facts. And when we say we like to have the facts, we want to make sure that we have the facts that we can express and show the community in Southeast Texas that we want the facts on what actually happened, how it occurred, and what was the final results of this discrimination. I'm sorry, to discipline this particular incident. So my cast here. Let's bring on Trish. Trish, she's here with me. Also, she backgrounded upside down. That's okay. And we're waiting on Chris Jones to come on. But uh, that was some false narrative, negative narrative of this incident because it happened with a young black kid assaulting a white young kid. So we want to make sure you understand what we're talking about and want to understand that we want to give you the factual of this particular incident. Now, there has been some false negative not advertising, but articles that was written by a local uh, Southeast Texas political paper. We call it tabloid. And 90% of the things that some of the people receive the news is 90% is not true. It's negative. It's false. It's exaggerated. But here with us, knowledge is power. We want to make sure you get the actual fact of what had happened. Uh, in any incident, it's not a black and white thing because the person that is involved in this deal was that assaulted the white kid was wrong. And there's no black and white to this. Wrong is wrong. And we want to hit you right between the eyes with it. So we ask uh, we asked, invited the chief of police of the BISD Independent School District, Beaumont Independent School District, to give us uh, 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 some actual uh, evidence of what happened and how it was resolved. And so we invited Chief George Malbrough. Let me see, make sure I get him on here, make sure he's on here. And again, we're going to make a disclosure that we're not going to call names. We're not going to show the video. We have the video because these kids are juveniles and we are protecting them, their name and video. So we won't show the video, but we've seen it and I'm sure you've seen it. And we're going to let you know how the chief responds on this. Anything, Chief, before I bring the chief on? Well, let me bring the chief of police of the Beaumont Independent School District, Chief Joe Malbrough. How you doing, Chief?
Hey, I'm doing fine, Mr. Renfro, and definitely thank you for checking with me, as well as even inviting me the opportunity, sir, to address this disturbing issue that has impacted our community, our school community, but also into our community as well. So definitely thank you for having me, sir.
You're right. We always want to get like we titled this show. Our topic is getting it straight, and we want to get it straight. We want to hear it from the source and how that it was handled properly, so that
Yes,
the people in our community to know that their kids are safe in
absolutely.
BISD. Okay, Chief, take it away.
Absolutely. And again, thank you again.
You're welcome.
Hello, community. Mr. Renfro did announce that Joseph Malbrough, the Chief of Police of the Beaumont Independent School District Police Department, and I am proud and humbled to serve in that capacity. Actually, what brings us here is the recent incident that has impacted our not only our school, district, but our community. The unfortunate incident that took place at one of our high schools, Westbrook High School. And there's just been a lot of negative information, obviously, and misinformation that has been going out. And and it's unfortunate, that sometimes, that when that information continues to be peddled out there, it seems like everyone forgets about that these are children that are involved. These are children that are involved. And, sometimes we get it when young kids engage in passing or sending different types of information, video clips. A lot of time the continual pushing that information out is oftentimes because they don't know better. But Mr. Renfro, one of the things that really puzzled me is that we had people of influence throughout, if you will, the city that was also pushing out this video of this disturbing incident that took place involving our children, our students in our district. And that in itself was disheartening to me, is because we definitely don't want that kind of information, especially our videos that are going out, is because it can be very divisive, but also it can be very hurting to the individuals that were involved, especially the victim in this matter. So I definitely want to say that anytime there is a criminal act of such caliber that takes place in our school district, you can best believe that our officers will address it immediately and accordingly to the letter of the law, as was in this situation, as well as any other previous incidents of similar caliber. We have addressed immediately and handled it accordingly to the letter of the law. Again, in this particular incident, of course, you can't provide so much information, divulge so much information, is because it's still a active, if you will, case, but also it entails minors. It's dealing with our minors, right? And so we have to be very careful, very sensitive in terms of how we handle that, as we did. Of course, as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Renfro, did take place on Wednesday. And immediately after that incident unfolded at our schools, our officers immediately went into the protocol, of course, of trying to locate the alleged suspect in this particular case. The individual was located and taken into custody immediately. This individual was processed at our police department, as young people are, because they're juveniles. And so, again, what's different is that these are juveniles as opposed to an adult, if you will. And once an adult is removed or taken off of the premises or taken into custody and brought to the Jefferson County Jail, sometimes that information becomes public. However, being that this is children, right, we have to be very discreet in how we handle that. And that information was not made public, of course. Unfortunately, the following day, after it happened, we of course started getting a barrage of different calls and text messages in reference to the incident. Is all if in fact it may have occurred on the Thursday, and negative information that was going out to the public, that the officers at the Beaumont Independent School District failed to respond. And there's even one that even the chief of police did not want to prosecute, which was false. So let me get this. Let me set this straight. Anytime there is an assault or criminal act of such caliber, you can best believe the individual responsible for such act will be dealt with accordingly and filed against accordingly to the letter and the fullest of the letter of the law, period. That's going to happen. And so I want to make that clear. It doesn't matter who it is. This is going to happen. If the elements of the crime exist, we will file charges every time, as we have. This is not the first incident nor the second. We have had others that have taken place, unfortunately, in our district. But we have to be mindful that it involves children. It involves children. And we have to be mindful as adults that we do not continue to push this information out, especially negative information that misrepresents not only the officers who support and serve our district, who support and serve our children daily, not only academically, it can also be athletically, but we also have a very unique responsibility of supporting, encouraging, and cheering our children on, especially when they're doing good. And even when they're doing bad, we have an opportunity to still address those matters, but we will do it always to the letter of the law, period. It's unfortunate, that we had this type of situation to occur, but it's unfortunate every time it happens. Of course, we're not exempt from incidents of that caliber taking place in our schools, but when they do happen, I want our parents to know that we will address those matters in a very professional manner and still deal with our individuals with dignity. And we have to respect that these are children that's involved. And so I just wanted to definitely just send that message out, to our community and to our parents, and reassuring them that we're going to always do everything possible to ensure the safety of our kids. And unfortunately, when they engage in acts of criminal act, we also are required to handle those matters accordingly as well. But we definitely have to ensure that we're doing it with discretion as well as with dignity to all of those that are involved. A very saddened situation, a very disturbing situation, Mr. Renfro and team and company, that has taken place. But it's a sad situation every time it happens in our community. And to a degree, it somewhat speaks to uh, where we are to a degree in our society. And so that's why I think it's very important that we that are community leaders uh, and adults who definitely have a vested interest in the well-being of our children, of the progress of our community, that we get involved. Listen, we have a PACS program, parent and community support program in our schools. We pushed that out last year, and honestly, we have not seen the support that we would like to see. And I get most of our parents, Mr. Renfro, they're often working, but we do have some who do have free time. We welcome you to come on board and join and to be helpful eyes and helpful hands in our schools to be supportive of that process. I've also have good partnership with our local law enforcement officers. They have often periodic walkthroughs to our schools, again, just to be a present, whether it's a meet and greet, whether it's to share about their profession. So we have all of these elements in place. But I believe that when we have situations like this, especially knowing that the culture and the climate right now may be somewhat fragile, right? We have to be very careful that we're not pushing out misinformation, or we're not constantly pushing out or sharing videos of a horrific act that has taken place, not only in our schools, but involving children. I would hope that we'd be more mindful of that and respectful of that. But again, I definitely want it to be understood that we will not tolerate such behavior in our schools. We will address it and deal with it every time it rears its ugly head, and we will handle it accordingly, according to the letter of the law. Again, I really just really wanted to share, and I know I'm going to have other opportunities to be able to discuss. We can't go so much into full detail regarding the incident. Of course, we're dealing with minors, being mindful that this is still an active case. But the fact was that this situation was immediately handled on that day, the following day, and therefore after. The video was constantly circulated. I mean, even circulated at some of the highest levels. I've received text messages, I've received calls in reference to it. And it's just sad, is because it can be very divisive. We need matters to where we can have our community come together, right? To rally behind supporting, our children, especially supporting our law enforcement personnel who are doing the hard work, right? And again, instead of pushing information that is disinformation, and not allowing the appropriate process or channels to run its course. So again, for the record, Beaumont Independent School District Police Department did make an arrest on the day. Shortly thereafter, the incident occurred, period. There was no other agency that came in. There was no other representative of other agencies that came in to say, do you need any help, or can we take over this? None of that happened. And again, it's unfortunate that when misinformation goes out, it just sends a bad message and precedent, especially for the good law enforcement officers that are working day in and day out to support and serve our community, and even serve those that are serving in our school district. So I definitely wanted to send that message, and hopefully that our community, when we are faced or dealt with issues of such caliber, that we are more mindful of the individuals that were involved, and we actually handle it in a manner with a little more discretion, as this incident was handled. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Chief Joe Malbrough with the Beaumont Independent School District. Getting the record straight is what we want here at Knowledge is Power Podcast, so we can share this actual factual, and you clarify what we want to hear. We want to hear the facts. We wanted our community, black, white, brown, green, it doesn't matter who you are, what race you are. We want to share to you the facts, the truth, what happened. So that won't be a hearsay or I read this or they say this or they say that. We want the facts to be shared to our communities. Black, white, green, brown. I repeated that again, but I have to emphasize that this is not a black and white thing. This is
Amen.
not a black and white thing.
No, this is about children who have to
Yes,
be, they need intervention. And it's about, they were stealing from the child, is my understanding. It's about theft, not race.
right, right. So again, we would not show the video. It's out there. We're not going to call names because these kids are juveniles, and we just want to make sure that you guys know that to the viewers that Knowledge is Power Podcast Live, we would like to disclose that to you for this special podcast. Uh, Unc,
I
that's
would
something you'd like to add on there?
glad you asked, Chief. I appreciate your service to our community. More so, as you mentioned, the building of relationship with our students on campus, which is one of the most important things that I think you said today. Uh, and the fact that you have to debunk lies and deceptions from local publications, alleged independent publications, alleged local leaders and officials. It's atrocious that you have to, um, you know, sort of kind of go behind them and do damage control, um, because of their misinformation, because of whatever angle it is that they're trying to approach with this particular story. And like you mentioned, the several incidents that happen throughout all of our schools, which are, like you said, unfortunate. Um, I will say one of the ways to detour this and many other instances like it is to volunteer in our public schools. Join your local PTAs. Um, Ask your church to volunteer. Some of their senior groups, some of their, educators that we see on Sundays. So there's plenty of opportunity for us to, I guess, curtail these types of happenings in our campuses. So I will reiterate what you said about us joining um, our, parents and teachers coming together collectively and educating our children so that instances like this can be avoided. Um, Secondly, I would ask, and I petition those same local tabloid publications, tabloids, whatever, because I really don't have too much respect for people that give news and call it news, or give a story and call it news, and it's always half cocked. So um, I would petition them to remove that video because it shows clearly the face of the youth. It doesn't matter if they posted it to the public first. It doesn't matter if, however you receive that video, you as a publication know that if a minor is in some video, if you're going to repost it, you should know that you have to edit that video, that you have to blur out that child's face, because just like Chief Malbrough said, This is a child, first and foremost. These are all children, and we have to protect the security and privacy of all children, because regardless if they were the defender or the offender, they all still need to have some sense of security and privacy to who they are, so that they will not be or receive retaliatory actions. So that's my petition to, these local publications. Blur out their face if you want that. If you want to post that on your platform, you should know as a publication that is considered to be illegal to have a child's face. Again, I'll say, regardless if they post it or not, with their face clear, you as the publication, you as the media outlet is not supposed to show their face. So that's my petition. Thank you for coming on, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tricia. And Chief, we thank you again for coming on board with us. And I'm glad you accept my invitation, because I'm a guy, I read this stuff, this negative misinformation, but I don't believe it until I get to the source.
Yes,
correct.
I want to dig into the source so I can get the correct understanding of what actually happened, so that I can share it to our community. Notice I say our community. I'm talking about the entire community. Doesn't matter who you are, what color you are. I'm talking about our community, so we can have the correct fact information. Thank you again, Chief. We appreciate you. And we're here at Knowledge Power is our community outlet, so that our community can know what's going on in and around you. Yes. So stay with us. Share this podcast with your friends, family, and members, so this word can get out to everyone. And please like our page and subscribe to us if you're on YouTube. We thank you again, Chief. You got your final word, Chief.
Well, definitely, again, want to thank you, Mr. Renfro, and community for allowing this opportunity, but also just for the support. BISD needs the support of the entire community, not partial, but the entire community. And I believe that we can come together and work together on matters such as this, and not push divisive issues that can split, slice, and divide us. I think we can see the progress that everyone wants to see, everyone believes in. And I believe our city in the Beaumont is capable of doing that, because we have wonderful citizens of this city. So again, Mr. Renfro, thank you, sir, for this opportunity. And to Chris and to other members that are on this podcast, thank you. Again, it was an opportunity for me to share. I'm humbled for this opportunity, and I will continue to serve the citizens of this district and of the city to the best of my ability. So thank you so kindly. You all be blessed.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We love you. God bless. Thank you, Trish and Aunt, and everyone who watches Knowledge is Power podcast. We love you. God bless. Thank you.